For centuries, the Spartan Phalanx was unstoppable until one weapon changed everything. This wasn't just a battle, it was the day Sparta died. The most feared army in the ancient world, legendary for its discipline and ferocity, was destroyed by a single, brilliant idea. No divine intervention, no secret weapon forged by gods, just strategy that shattered legends. Imagine the scene. It's 371 BC on a dusty plain in Boeotia. On one side, you have the Spartans, the undisputed champions of Greek warfare. Their reputation alone made armies tremble. Facing them were the Thebans, a respectable force but considered underdogs. The Spartans, led by King Cleombrotus, lined up in their traditional phalanx, a wall of shields and spears about 12 men deep. It was a formation that had dominated battlefields for generations. They were confident, maybe even arrogant. Why wouldn't they be? They were Spartans. They expected another routine victory. They didn't even realize they were walking into a trap. The Theban general, a man named Epaminondas, looked across the field. He knew a head-on clash with the Spartans was suicide. To beat a legend, you can't play by their rules. You have to write your own. While the Spartans trusted their muscles, Epaminondas trusted geometry. He observed the Spartan formation. Their strongest troops, the elite hippes, were always placed on the right flank, the position of honor and the traditional point of attack. The rest of their line was thinner, composed of less experienced soldiers and allies. This was the Spartan playbook, and everyone in Greece knew it. So, Epaminondas did something that broke every rule of ancient warfare. Instead of matching the Spartan formation, he completely rebalanced his own army. He took his best troops, the elite sacred band of Thebes, a unit of 300 soldiers formed by 150 pairs of male lovers, sworn to defend each other to the death, and stacked them on his left wing. Not 12 men deep, not 20, but an unheard of 50 men deep. This created a massive, super-concentrated hammer of men, shields, and spears aimed directly at Sparta's best. His own center and right wing were deliberately weakened and angled backward in what's now called an oblique order. Their job wasn't to win, it was simply to hold and delay. The entire battle would be decided on one side of the field. As the battle began, the Spartan right wing advanced, expecting to crash into the Theban line and roll them up, just as they had done countless times before. But Epaminondas had another surprise. Before the infantry lines met, he sent his cavalry charging forward. The Theban cavalry, superior in skill, quickly routed their Spartan counterparts, sowing chaos and confusion right in front of the advancing Spartan phalanx. The Spartan horsemen were driven back into their own infantry, disrupting their formation just moments before the crucial impact. And here's where the impossible happened. The 50-deep Theban left wing, with the sacred band at its tip, slammed into the 12-deep Spartan right. It wasn't a fair fight. It was a battering ram of sheer force and momentum against a standard wall. The shock was immense. The Spartans, legendary for their courage, held their ground, but they were being crushed by the sheer weight of numbers and the ferocity of the Theban assault. The front ranks of Spartans fell, then the next and the next. Their long spears were useless once the Thebans got in close, turning the fight into a brutal, claustrophobic melee. The Spartan king, Cleombrotus, fighting in the front ranks with his elite guard, was one of the first to fall. Seeing their king struck down sent a wave of shock and despair through the Spartan lines. Their morale, once unbreakable, began to crack. This was only phase one. While the Spartan right was being systematically annihilated, the rest of the battle line was in a state of paralysis. Epaminondas's weak right and center were slowly falling back as planned, refusing to fully engage. The allies on the Spartan left and center watched in horror as their elite flank, the one that was supposed to win the battle for them, was being dismantled. They hesitated, unsure whether to help their comrades or hold their position. That hesitation was fatal. In just minutes, centuries of Spartan dominance vanished. The concentrated Theban attack punched a hole straight through the Spartan right, then turned and began to roll up the rest of the terrified, disordered line. The Spartans broke and fled, something that was once unthinkable. The untouchable warriors of Sparta were running for their lives. The Theban victory was absolute and devastating. Out of 700 elite Spartan citizens at the battle, over 400 lay dead, including their king. Thebes lost fewer than 50 men. It was one of the most lopsided victories in ancient history. The news of Leuctra sent shockwaves across the ancient world. It wasn't just a military defeat for Sparta. It was a psychological catastrophe. The myth of Spartan invincibility was shattered forever. Their social structure, built on a foundation of military supremacy, began to crumble. Rebellions flared up across their empire as subject states realized the Spartans could, in fact, bleed. The Thebans didn't defeat Sparta with strength, but with brains. Epaminondas proved that brilliant strategy and tactical innovation could overcome tradition and reputation. It wasn't a miracle, it was pure mathematics and courage. What if the smartest weapon in history wasn't made of steel? Sometimes genius is deadlier than a sword. Leuctra didn't just end a battle, it ended an era. It ushered in a brief period of Theban dominance and permanently altered the balance of power in Greece. And from that day, the world learned a timeless lesson. No army, no empire, and no legend is truly unbeatable. Sparta's downfall wasn't fate, it was outsmarted. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this dive into military history, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next video. Let us know in the comments what other legendary battles you'd like us to cover. See you next time.